Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, I guess you guys searched lots of people. And I think every single people have lots of identities. And as we learned earlier, people have various characteristics. And I think it looks like this mask. And as you can see, this mask has three parts. First part is the white side. And this is the positive things like kindness or like politeness. Second part is the dark side. It's like a selfishness and something negative. And the last part of this mask is the unknown part. Usually it can be positive and it can be also negative, but it is usually neutral and it is not that popular and it's usually unknown. I chose Fritz Haber, who is quite famous German chemist, and I think he is interesting person. Sorry, because he has his mask has very different and extremely distinguishable three faces. So today I'm gonna tell you the white face of his mask and dark face of his mask, and lastly I will tell you the unknown face of his mask. So let's start with the first part, the positive mask. Some famous people have lots of nicknames, and he's also famous chemist, so he has lots of nicknames. One of his nicknames is the man who made bread from the air. So let me explain this nickname. When the plants grow up, they need lots of nutrition, and one of those nutrition is nitrogen, which is abundant in the air. But naturally, plant can absorb nutrition from air, but it's so small, and it's not enough for human to get lots of crops. So what he did was make ammonium from nitrogen, which can be used to make fertilizer, and which can help the plants to grow up. And in this form, plants can absorb nutrition much faster. So as a result, he calls this process as a Haber process. And 40% of our fertilizer made nowadays is made by Haber process, and 75% of protein that we eat came from the plants, directly or indirectly. It means that 30% of what we eat come from Haber process. So as a result, his experiment and his invention contributed to a poverty or someone who is in hunger. So he won Nobel Prize in 1918. So this was the positive side of Fritz Haber. So let me talk about the second part, the dark side. As I said earlier, he has lots of nicknames, and the other nicknames that he has is the man who made poison gas from salt. Salt, I'm sure that all of you are familiar with salt. And he made poison gas from salt, which is called chloride gas. And he first used it in World War I. And he used it to the French troops, or let's say French soldiers. And at the first use, it killed 5,000 French soldiers. And it's only the number of who died, and there's much more soldiers who are addicted to the gas. And if you are addicted, you will become temporarily or permanently blind. And he was inspired by this result, and actually he was proud of it. So he continued to make another version of poison gas, which is called post-scan. Have you ever heard this one, post-scan? No? So let me explain. During the World War I, 12 million people was addicted and exposed to the poisonous gas. And 10,000 people were dead. And 80% of people were killed by poison, which is developed by Fritz Haber. And yeah, this was the second part of his mask, which is dark and negative. And let me explain the last part of his mask. It is unknown part. And maybe some of you already know the first and second side of his mask, maybe. And I think it is quite a relatively unknown part. He has another nickname. The man who made gold from the seawater, or the sea. After World War I, English and France wanted Germany to pay money for compensation of the war. And they required it by a gold coin. And its amount is 4,700 tons of gold. And of course, Germany do not have gold. And as you saw earlier, Fritz Haber was really patriotic to their German, to his government. So he think really seriously about this problem. So what he thought was extracting gold from seawater, because about 10 billion tons of gold is dissolved in seawater. So the only thing he had to do was extracting 0.001% of gold from seawater. So it was quite easy job. So he began to work on it, and eventually he realized that it is impossible, because for 1 ton of seawater, there's only 0.004 milligram of gold. So actually he really made gold from seawater, but he said it is totally uneconomic, and he finally gave up this work in 1928, and he said it would be easier to find a needle in the forest than to find gold in the seawater. So this was the last part of his mask. And so far I told you the 3 parts of his mask. First, the white mask is, this mask gave him the nickname, the one who made red from the air. And the second mask, the negative mask, gave him the nickname, the one who made poison gas from salt. And the last mask gave him the nickname, who made gold from the sea. So far, I explained that he has 3 different parts of his mask. And I think he is really interesting, because I think all of us has these 3 different parts, but he has extremely different parts. And now I wonder how my mask looks like, because I've been in this class for 12 weeks, and you guys have been so kind to me, and I'm sure that each of you have my mask in your mind. So I just hope that my mask have white space just as much as your mask have. Thank you.